Good day. I'm Roberta Winters, President of the League of Women Voters of Radnor Township. And I'm very happy to tell you today we also have as our guest Catherine Miller. Catherine is a member of the Central Delaware County League, and she also serves on the board of the Delaware County League of Women Voters, where she has also been a part of the State League of Women Voters, where she was the voter service point person for the whole state of Pennsylvania. So I feel very fortunate to have you here with us today, Catherine. And I'd like to know, since you've been involved in voter registration far longer than I have, just how did the League ever get involved with voter registration?
The League was in it from the very beginning, from the minute we got the 19th Amendment. Then women need to be registered to vote, because they weren't. So we went out there and registered a lot of women in a very short period of time, because everybody was really ready to do this, and they were like standing up in line waiting to register to vote. I'd like to see that now, but I don't see it now.
Well, registering to vote is very important, because if you don't register, you can't vote. Well, has this registration process changed over the years?
I think it's simplified a lot. You can now register online, which is a wonderful thing and makes a lot of things easier. And you can win the, you can vote.
You really
cut that.
You can vote on. You can register to vote online.
Yes, you can.
You just is that www.votespa.com website?
It is.
So it's votespa.com, and you can go there and get all the information. What about paper? Do they still use paper?
They still use paper, and you can fill out a paper voter registration form if you would like to. Those forms should be widely available at government sites in the county.
I think our libraries have a lot of applications too.
Yes.
And I think when I looked at that website, votespa.com, you can download a form and actually fill it out in paper.
Yes, and send it in.
So that's really good. Is this a busy time for people to be registering to vote, or is it always sort of a few people all the time register?
No, this is a very busy time, because the publicity about the presidential election is so wide and so pervasive that everybody is aware of it, and they all want to be registered to vote. Well, most of them want to be registered to vote. But you cannot vote if you are not registered. And that's a really rude shock to some people who show up at the polling place and are turned away, and they are so horrified.
So this is an important thing for everyone to pay attention to.
Right.
Has there been any federal legislation that's helped people register to vote? Because in 1920, when the League was around, and we started at first, I don't think
there was nothing.
We didn't have much help.
No.
So what is the NV, the National Voter Registration Act?
That enables the voter registration process to move faster through the counties. All the election things are controlled by the counties, which is kind of amazing. And it makes it hard to do things nationwide. But National Voter Registration Act did enable some things there. And at the state level, we have Motor Voter, which has been a big help. It asks you when you register your car or when you do your driver's license, would you like to register to vote? And
I think that's a really important thing to have, is every time I want to.
It is.
But I think sometimes what happens is 16-year-olds get their driver's license, but they're not eligible to vote, and they might not, when they've turned 18,
they might not do it.
They might not do it. So it's important to remember whenever you get your driver's license to check to make sure you're registered to vote.
Right.
So the Board of Elections and Media has a lot of control about what happens?
Yes. There's a 3-person Board of Elections, and then there's the regular office of people who oversee the election process. There's a lot of work to do to put on an election, and they have to make sure that the right ballots get to each of the correct voting places, and make sure that everything is just right and all the voting places have the right supplies and things. And then they're alert the day of the election as well.
So if I wanted registration materials or if I had any questions about how to register, I could go to media,
Yes, you could.
to the government center there,
Yes, right.
and they would have all the forms
Yes.
and be able to answer all the crazy
Yes.
questions I might have.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things that
You don't understand.
you don't
about the thing.
understand.
The other thing is you can go online to Votes PA and at least look through their website, because they have a lot of demos on there, and you can see what's happening during the election process.
So I don't even have to leave my office
Right.
to register to vote or get most of the
Right.
questions I
Right.
might have answered.
Right.
Now that we've had a little bit about voter registration, September 27th is a big day,
It's a big day.
and that's called National Voter Registration Day. And is that something that happens every September 27th?
It's not the date. It's yes, oh, actually, it is the date. The National Voter Registration Day is set for the fourth Tuesday. So it's not always the 27th, but it is the fourth Tuesday in September. And the National Association of Secretaries of State, who are the people who really control the election process in each state, they voted to make this National Voter Registration Day because there was a feeling that without this kind of hoopla that you have to go out and register, people would ignore it. And in fact, they have.
Really? You mean people don't register to vote and they go to the polls and expect to
They expect,
cast a ballot?
They do. They've heard all the the noise that's on the television and everything, and they expect to be able to vote, but you can't.
Really? I mean, how many people miss that? How could they miss it?
6 million people
6 million people went to the polls and couldn't vote
in 2008, yes,
because they weren't registered?
that's correct.
That's amazing. That could change the whole outcome of an election
It certainly could.
because
Yep.
sometimes it's just a matter of a few votes.
It is a few votes, and each vote is really important. The parties look and see who voted, and in this, and then they target those polling places with some of the information that they need to keep going.
So on National Voter Registration Day, people all over the country are supposed to remember to register to vote.
Right.
And what happens on National Voter Registration Day?
A lot of nonprofits get together, and they're going to reach different people, we hope, and so they will do some hoopla about voter registration so that everybody gets the idea that they need to do it.
So like the League of Women Voters in Radnor,
Right.
going out and handing out cards
That's
or
correct.
standing out at the Fall Festival or all those things
Yes.
are part of National Voter Registration. I think I heard there are even some movie stars and celebrities that are
Oh
going to do
yes,
this.
oh yes, we'll have as many as we can get.
So that's great, and hopefully the newspapers will cover it,
Yeah.
and it might be on radio.
I hope people get really alert to this because the deadline for registering to vote is October 11th.
That's just around the corner.
It is.
So people have to go to online
Yes.
or go to government offices, get those applications, fill out the applications
Right.
online. That's votespa.com.
Right.
And then we need to get them involved to register to vote.
Right.
Now, tell me, can just anyone register? So, I mean, we're going to do all this big hoopla, so thousands of voters get mobilized to register to vote, and suppose everybody gets excited and they say, now I want to register.
Okay. Not everybody can register to vote this year. You have to be a U.S. citizen.
Huh.
You have to You have to be 18 by the day of the election.
So if my birthday isn't until November 8th, I can still register.
Yes.
But if it's November 9th, no
Nope.
way.
Right.
Okay, 18 years old,
Yep.
a U.S. citizen, so
Right.
the fact that people come in from another country, they can't vote
They can't vote.
unless they become a U.S.
A
citizen.
naturalized U.S.
Naturalized U.S. citizen,
Right.
okay.
Right.
And what about residence? Does that make a difference?
Yes. You have to figure out where you're going to register because that is the jurisdiction in which you will vote. So they need to know where you are registered.
So that's where you live is where you register,
Yes.
for the most part. There are always a few cases that might be a little different.
Right.
And if you want to register and you hear about National Voter Registration Day, you can register at any time or just
Up until the 11th.
up until the 11th. So that's,
It has to be in the election bureau by the 11th.
so what if it could be postmarked by the 11th too, couldn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, so I think we either have to postmark, but if I'm really worried, I could hand deliver it to media.
I would hand deliver it.
And you want to make sure the computer website's not bogged down with everybody registering
Everybody
at the same
doing it,
time.
right.
So the important thing would be do it sooner rather than later.
Right.
Because you don't want, I mean, I've done my income tax, and sometimes
It
you
gets
think, you think it's going to be easy, but
Right.
everybody else is trying to do it at the 11th hour when you're trying to do it.
Right.
So probably the sooner you register to vote at votespa.com, the
Right.
better off you'll be able to register and get that all done, because if you don't register, you can't vote.
And it'll give you time to check the registration to make sure on Votes PA that you are registered. In a
Oh.
couple of weeks you can do that.
Okay, well, let me ask you about this. Suppose, I have a nephew who's in the military. How would he register to vote?
Well,
He's not even in this country.
the military has a different system for doing it than the civilians do. And they have somebody in their unit that should supply them with forms that they can do. Okay, but you can go to www.fvap.gov for more information. It's quite extensive.
So in other words, my nephew, who might live in Harrisburg,
Right.
can't go to votespa.com because he's in Afghanistan.
That's correct.
He would instead have to go to another website,
Right.
and that's www.fvap.gov.
Right.
Well, that's really interesting, because we want to make sure all the people who are serving our country, be they men or women, or if they're hospitalized in a VA
Right,
hospital
right.
someplace, they need to be able to vote, because
They do.
that's an important service they do for us.
Right.
Well, tell me, just, how does one register online? Have you ever looked
Okay.
online to see
Yes.
how it works?
Yes.
What do you do?
Well, you go up to votespa.com and they'll say voter registration. And you can either download the form or fill it out online. And you will need your driver's license and social security number.
Well, when I went on that website, I saw a little window,
Yeah.
and it says, what do you need? And it'll say, like, college student, military,
Yes.
elderly.
Right.
So you can pick, like,
What's most like you?
what's
Yes.
most like you, like first-time
Right.
voter. And you click on that, and it will give you specific things that you need to know that
Right.
maybe somebody else doesn't need to know.
Right. Exactly.
So that's really useful if you use that little window,
Yes.
and then it will lead you right through the discussion of what you need specifically.
Right.
Now, I know some people have trouble if they don't have a driver's license or a social security number, though they don't remember it. Isn't it easier for them to fill out a paper ballot? Because then they can actually sign it.
Well, you can do that anytime you want. Just go up and get one from your election bureau. But You can also sign your signature on a plain white piece of paper and take a photograph of that and put it up online.
I think some people have even tried doing it with a stylus on those smartphones and things.
Oh boy, okay.
So I don't know how to do that, I'm sorry to say, but I think there are probably ways in which you can do that.
Yes, and they'll probably explain them all to you.
Because it's a lot easier than it used to be.
Yeah, I
But
think
that
so.
signature is important. It does not, and I've read that you don't even have to sign a name that looks like yours. You can just put an X there, a mark, if you have a problem. Like, you know, my mother, as she got older, had trouble writing her name.
Right, yeah, because you have limited mobility in your fingers and things. Yeah, because they do, because one of the ways that they assume or prove that the voter registration is accurate and the voter counts are accurate is every time you come in, they compare your signature now with the signature that's on file. So you do want to make sure that it's okay, and that allows them to determine whether there's a problem or not.
So when you register online or on paper, it's important that you have your signature there.
Right,
And it's legible so that you can replicate it
Right.
when you go to the polling place.
right,
So that's why registration and having accurate information and things that are legible.
right,
And I would suggest if you have problems writing, online is a little easier.
yeah,
Because I know when I've taught schools, sometimes it's hard to read what students write. And I think sometimes our penmanship isn't what it used to be,
that's true.
even our printing.
Yes, right,
So, but you can take a picture of your signature, and if you go online and you decide, well, you know, I really don't want to do this online, I think you can also push a button and download an application
Right.
that can be printed out,
that's right.
and then you can fill it out and either take it. Where did you say I could take it?
You can take it to the voter registration office
And where is that?
in the courthouse,
In media.
in media.
Okay, but if you lived in, say, suppose you lived in, you know, Ardmore, would you take it to media?
Yeah,
Really?
yes.
I thought in Montgomery County you might have to take
Oh.
it to.
That's because I don't know that Ardmore is in Montgomery County.
Well, suppose
Okay.
that you're in Ardmore in Montgomery County, right?
Okay, all right,
Well, because Wayne, you have a Wayne address, you could be in Chester County.
right.
So if you were in Montgomery County, you would have to go to Norristown, I think, which is their county seat.
Right,
And if you're in Chester County, you'd have to go to Westchester.
right,
So if you're not living in Delaware County, check the county, because on the application it'll tell you where the election office is by
Exactly.
county.
yes,
So I know when we go to the Fall Festival, which we just had last weekend, and we got people from all over the area, you have to make sure you just don't take them all to media. You have to sort through to make
Right.
sure you have them in the right county.
that's correct.
And I'm sure that's happened to you.
Oh, yes. Every time you do a fall fair or something where there's people from all over, you get forms from all over.
So it's important that you have them going to the right address. You can mail them, but make sure you put a stamp on them. They don't have those ones that
Fracking. They don't have fracking privileges.
No, they don't have fracking privileges. You have to put the stamp on it, put it in the mailbox, and make sure by, what's the deadline again?
October 11th.
October 11th, okay. Now,
If you need to change your party affiliation,
wait a minute. I want to ask again. I have done all this work. I've sent in my application, or I've filled it out online, and then I can just breathe easily and know I can vote November 8th. Is that correct?
no.
You mean I still have more to do?
You should check to see that there it was registered correctly. So to do that, you can go to VotesPA and find out if you're registered.
So votespa.com, I can
Yes.
verify that I've registered.
Yes,
That's good to know.
it's a very useful site.
Is there any other way, if I don't have a computer, I can figure it out?
Let's see. Well, you can use the computers at the libraries, but if you need to.
Could I go to media?
Yeah, and you can call up and ask.
Call up media and ask if I'm
Yes.
registered to vote, and it's done, and I'm verified so that I don't wait in line and get there and be disappointed.
That would be awful.
Well, I would think so. Now, There's other things you can do on those voter registration forms and online at Votes PA, other than just register or verify that you've registered. Suppose, like I have a nice daughter who's single, and she decides to get married.
She's going to have to re-register.
She's going to have to re-register just because she got married.
She changed her name.
Oh, she changed her name, that's right. So she would have to re-register. And how do I do that?
Another voter registration form or online at Votes PA, one of those two.
Okay. Well, and sometimes people change their names for other reasons than getting married. I mean, some
Right.
people change their name because
Yes.
for a variety of reasons today.
Anytime you do, you need to re-register.
So a change of name should prompt you to re-register to vote.
Right. And a change of address as well.
So that means if I move down the street,
Yep.
I have to change. Even
Even
if it's just from one apartment to the next.
Right.
I have to change my voter registration, so I have to go back to votespa.com or again to a paper application I might download or get at the library or the motor vehicle place and fill it all out so that my address is correct.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry. That seems like a lot of work, but it really isn't.
Well, you just don't want to not do it.
Because then you can't vote.
Now, what about, lots of times people want to put down a party affiliation or
Right.
remain independent because sometimes in Pennsylvania we have closed primaries. This is not a primary. This is a general election this November. But in the spring, if they have a primary and I want to vote for a candidate, I can only vote to choose a candidate if they're Republican candidates or if they're Democratic candidates. And I just might want to change from being an independent, so I might want to vote in the primary. Or I might want to change to vote in one primary that I'm not registered with or another primary.
Right.
So can I just do that at any time?
Well, within the restrictions that you have this month before the election. So it's by the 11th of October.
So, but if any time before 30 days of the next election, I could change that. And how would I go about changing that again?
Do it on Votes PA. Or do a paper form and turn it in, mail it in.
And if I changed my party affiliation, or if I changed my address, or if I changed my name, I can go and get that verified too to make sure it went through at votespa.com. So that's the way to do it, or call the county office or visit the county office.
Yeah.
They will help me with that.
They're very helpful.
Well, that's good to know because lots of times face-to-face is important for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think it's always reassuring. But I can change my party affiliation or go to independent from Republican to Democrat at any time 30 days prior to any election, and that'll work.
Right. And in fact, the League recommends to people that they do register in a party because Pennsylvania has this closed primary system where you can only vote for the people in the party in which you're registered. And so to get more of a vote, if you register as in one of the parties, you will get more influence
in choosing the candidates.
Yes.
I know in primaries you can always vote on other kinds of ballot questions.
Yes, you can. Ballot questions.
And some people think they can't do that either. But anybody can vote on a ballot question as long as they're registered to vote, regardless of the party.
Right.
Now, we really have an important job to do in the next few days.
Yes, we do.
And that's getting everyone registered to vote.
Right.
And I would just want to make sure that everybody understands that when November 8th comes and it's time to register to vote, that it's done before October 11th.
Okay.
Right? October 11th is the deadline.
If you want to vote on November 8th, you must be registered. And you have to do that before October 11th.
And, the League of Women Voters is a great organization, but we don't have enough feet on the ground to get everybody registered to vote.
Yeah.
So it's just not our job, is it?
No. And that's why Votes PA is so useful. It's because you can do it at any time, you can do it at your convenience, and you can figure out what happened to it.
All in one spot.
Yes,
So votespa.com is a really good resource.
it is.
But not everybody knows about it.
No.
So I think it's important, if you have kids in college, if you have neighbors, if you have parents who might not be living with you right now, that they understand that Votes PA is a place where they can go to get the
Right.
help they need. And I think a lot of people have like Facebook,
Yes. You can get there from Facebook, I think.
and you could let people know if you have Facebook or Twitter or
Yeah.
any other kind of social media
that's
outlet.
right. You can tell people on your Facebook page, right?
Tell people on your Facebook page, tell people with your Twitter or your tweet or whatever they do, to go to votespa.com
Right.
and register to vote before October 11th. And because if they miss that deadline, they're out.
That's it. And there will be people who are really upset about being turned away at the polls. So
And with 8 million voters missing that opportunity just a few years ago,
right.
and with this kind of election, which looks to be very close,
Yes.
every vote is going to count. And without being registered,
Yours will not be one of them.
well, we hope that votespa.com catches on like wildfire.
Right.
But we need everybody's help to make that happen. Now, I'd like to thank Catherine, who has been great today answering our questions about voter registration
Right.
and using the online as well as the paper applications
Right.
that they can get either at votespa.com or through their local government offices or places like your library. And also about telling us a little bit about the history of the League's involvement with voting since 1920. We've been around a while,
We have.
almost 100 years, and how things have gotten easier,
Yes.
but they still require effort on everyone's part. It's not something that's, our right to vote is an important vote, but it's not something that doesn't take a little bit of effort.
It does. It
You
does.
need to register to vote before you get in the opportunity to actually cast a ballot. So the League of Women Voters is trying and has been trying for 100 years nearly to help make democracy work. So we'd like to thank all of you in the audience today for, in fact, encouraging and hearing us today and supporting the right to vote and registering in order to do so. So thank you to each of you and have a great
Thank you,
day.
Roberta. Okay.